Okay, these are some of the most unique alcohol-based markers I have ever tried. These are the Olo markers, and I picked out 60 colors from the sets that they provided on their website, and I will include which sets that I picked out down below the description. Not only do you get to mix and match your colors and use what colors you want to match by using these little dingle hoppers that you screw in, and then they send you wands that if you just want to use one color or you want to use two colors, you get to pick your colors ahead of time. If you're a person like me where I pick my colors beforehand and then I just screwed all those markers together to use. But what's really cool about these is it has a free flow ink system. That means you're using 90% more of ink because you don't have a cartridge in the middle of your marker like most alcohol-based markers do. That's magic. So it's 2 milliliters of ink inside that little half. Not to mention that the nibs are like pristine and so smooth to work with. I wanted to come in here and I wanted to give more of an extended review on the Olo markers because they are so unique and so different from any type of other alcohol markers I have used in my artist creative journey. That's what I like. I mean, I already do this with all my markers. I went through and I pick out my colors. I like picking out color palettes. Some artists just go for it. Everybody has their own technique and their own kind of look, especially when it comes to coloring. Everybody has a different coloring choice. I've seen artists that only use like flat layer colors, and then maybe they might add a little bit of shading by adding the same color on top to give it more of a darker, kind of richer tone of that same color. And I've seen some artists use purple or blues, and I've seen some artists just completely leave it alone and just flat colors, the end. But I like to pick out my color palette beforehand. I like to look at what my reference is. As you could see, it was a little succulent that I found from Pinterest, and I picked out those colors, and I went ahead and I grabbed my little screwy dingle hoppers that Olo sent to me, and I screwed my colors together, and I tried to figure out what my color palette was based off of the swatching sheet that you saw beforehand. So I based all the color swatches that I had, and I made a color palette. I screwed all those little half markers together. That way it was easy for me to just, I was ready to go. I could just go back and forth to each color, especially if you see me layering a lot. I had some of the same colors, the warm colors with the warm colors, cool colors with the cool colors. Just that kind of like repeated process of flipping over and going back, which makes the process of coloring a little bit faster than usual, as opposed to, you always have to cap your markers. If you don't, how dare you? You're grounded, get out, go sit in your corner. No, but you cap your marker and then all you had to do was flip it. I don't know if you guys were like fans of mix and match socks. I think I brought this point up already. I loved mix and match socks. I still do it to this day. If they are relatively close, I will wear my Spider-Man sock with my Captain America sock or my Iron Man sock with my Marvel sock. The thing is that the Olo markers have a positive going for them by being an efficient coloring process. Just being able to go back and forth, especially with blending. I don't use I don't use colorless blenders. I use the lighter shade to darken or blend with like a darker color. I use lighter shades to blend with other colors. So going back and forth, that was really helpful, just to be able to flip over. Instead of searching for it on my desk, I could flip over the marker and there was my lighter color, and I could just go blend, 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 and then be done. Another thing too is something that I could tell right from the beginning with Olo markers. You can always tell when the ink, the alcohol-based ink that is inside the markers, is of good quality. When I started to use the Olo markers, I could start to see, oh my gosh, this is like the elite brands that we all want and love, such as like it's very comparable to Copic marker alcohol-based ink. It's very, very close. And the nibs too. The nibs tell me a lot too about a marker. That's kind of weird to say, but the nibs to a marker can tell me a lot. The chisel and brush nibs. If they're sturdy and they're not flimsy, they're not flaky. Hobby Lobby's Master's Touch is by far one of the worst alcohol marker brands I have ever come across in my entire art career or my experience with alcohol-based markers. They're flaky, and no shade. If you guys like them, whatever. Everybody has their own preference. They're not great. The nibs are terrible. And the alcohol ink that is inside, oh my gosh, the way that it bleeds. That's just terrible. I've been working with the Olo marker so far, and other than it going and bleeding to the next page, not the next page, it just bleeds to the back of the page, which is normal because it's alcohol-based ink. And if it's not water-based, it's gonna bleed to the next page unless you have a bleed-proof sketchbook by Render or Ohuhu markers. But I got to play with the chisel nibs and the brush nibs, and they're sturdy and that they could blend very well together. Like nothing was getting dirty, nothing was flaking, and the nibs weren't tearing up my page at all. And this is actually Olo Marker's personal brand of sketchbook, so the marker paper is amazing. Not only is this a fun, creative approach to alcohol-based markers, it is also very, very, very nice. I mean, it's pristine quality. The colors are amazing, and I don't know if that was just like the marker paper just doing its job because it was built for it. But the Olo markers, how they were able to blend the nibs and the alcohol ink are just dang, really awesome. I do want to discuss the one negative about Olo markers is that the price is up there. But if you look at it, I did do a little bit of a comparison side by side. You are paying for the same amount that you would for Copic markers with Olo markers, but the thing that Olo markers has going for it is that 90% the free ink flow that's going on inside the half body of the Olo marker. I think that's a huge plus, that you are using more of the ink as opposed to a marker that has an ink cartridge, like a little felt cartridge in the middle. I think that's huge that Olo marker offers you to, hey, here's more ink, which I am all about.